Hi, everybody. It's me, Alexa Jenkins. I'm here today to talk about establishing a practice and specifically the step of creating a website and the ethics and design components of making a website for your counseling practice. Technology, especially online websites and social media, is something that counselors have only recently begun to really engage in because of the ethical dilemmas that it can bring up. But the ACA is pretty clear in the code of ethics about what you should and shouldn't include on a website or a social media platform, as well as the benefits of it. Ultimately, the goal of a website is to create a central hub for your practice online, a place that clients can go and gain helpful knowledge and learn a little more about you in a more informal way than calling the office or that kind of thing. So, um, the ACA, like I said, is pretty clear in their codes about how and when to use social media and websites. They have a whole section, Section H, that's about distance counseling, technology, and social media. And it starts out specifically relating to distance counseling, which is where you're practicing counseling over the internet via web chats and that kind of thing. But it also gets into website and social media ethics and really emphasizes the idea that counselors, whether or not you're using technology for your practice, you need to be aware of the benefits and the resources that are available to you there, as well as the potential pitfalls that could find you there. So they're pretty clear about things like interaction with clients online. They really encourage you to include a social media policy in your informed consent, letting your clients know, like, hey, I'm not going to follow you on social media, that kind of thing, establish some boundaries ahead of time, especially because they encourage counselors who want to have a social media presence to really distinguish between their professional platform and their personal platform. And so you don't want your client to start sending you private messages on your professional Twitter, or if they happen to find your private accounts, you don't want them to try to engage with you there. So it's good to go and establish some boundaries ahead of time, and the ACA is really clear about how to do that. And also clear about the benefits of having a social media presence that your clients can access and that you can use to hopefully gain new clients. So that's really important. They also have a section under section C, which is about professional responsibility, where they kind of let you know what the guidelines are related to advertising and soliciting clients. So making sure that you're really clear about your credentials, that you're not falsifying any information, and that you're not putting the ACA's name or your titles and LPC on something that does not fall under their ethical guidelines, because that is a problem. They also encourage you not to solicit testimonials from clients to use on your website. So they don't want you to have like an open call for that with your clients. That can make them feel coerced. They can feel obligated to give you a good review or a testimonial. But some clients will or may approach you and offer a testimonial. They might have seen your website and say, like, hey, I would love to share my story, in which case you can have a really frank discussion about the implications of that and the permissions involved. And you're welcome to accept their input. The ACA's guidelines are really centered around client confidentiality always, and making sure that everything is really clear and really forthright, that you're not falsifying anything and that you're not misleading people with your web presence. Which is important because the goal of this website is to create this central hub for your practice, a landing page of sorts that can be used if people are being referred to your practice, that insurance companies can link to, unlike a social media platform, which could potentially create an issue of dialogue and back and forth conversation on the internet. A website is very much a curated location where you can include what you feel is important to potential clients of your practice. So it's really good to keep that in mind, that it's not so much about marketing or self-promotion. I think sometimes that can be overwhelming to people who are starting a website, but your goal is really just to make sure your clients have the best information about your practice that they possibly can, and let them know how you're going to meet their needs. So to do that, you're going to include a really clear start page, homepage to link to the rest of the site. Let your client or your potential client know on the first page of your website what you're about, what kind of practice you are, what services you offer, and then you'll have an About Me page where you kind of describe your experience, your expertise, what are some of your specialties, are you certified in anything specific? You'll include all of that and kind of some of your services, whether it's couples counseling, whether it's specifically like trauma related, things like that. You'll include all of that there. It's almost a rework of your professional disclosure statement. So you're just giving people a feel for your style of counseling, your methods, and whether or not that might be helpful for them. And then you'll have throughout your website, you'll include contact information. Every single page should include your name, address, phone number of your practice so that people can at any time decide, yeah, I would like to contact them, and they can just click from wherever they're at. But you'll have a special contact page that includes a little more information. Maybe you have like a form to request some more information. You can do your email address and phone number again, as well as your office hours are important to note. A map that you have preferably embedded from like Google Maps so that people can click it and immediately know exactly how far you are from them. And then there you'll link to any other social media profiles you have as well. Another page that is really important that is becoming more of a popular resource is having like a client resources page. There are ways that you can set up confidential appointment schedulers online. You can have a setup where your clients maybe have a password that they use to access that resource or something like that. No matter what, you'll include that there, as well as if you have worksheets or activities specifically related to certain treatments that you're working on. You might include, some counselors will include like a reading list for instance, they might have a reading list for people struggling with anxiety, and it's just some little resources that people might benefit from. And then you can have that to direct clients to instead of having to contact them directly about it outside of your sessions. Additionally, you could include recommended support groups, that kind of thing. And then you'll want a page of frequently asked questions. You'll want to include resources related to like your policies. You might include intake forms there or other information related to rates, things that people would want to know ahead of scheduling an appointment with you. And ultimately, you're going to want your website to just be simple and client focused. The easier it is to follow, the more likely people are to stay on your website and the more likely they are to contact you. This is a really fun opportunity to kind of infuse some of your personality into your counseling practice while still maintaining ethical guidelines. You can make the background your favorite color. You can include beautiful scenery, whatever makes you feel like your website is the most warm and welcoming that it possibly can be. Because ultimately, these web pages exist to get clients to come into our offices and to introduce them to the idea of receiving some therapeutic help. And however you do that, it's important to make sure that you're doing it ethically and responsibly while still making it enjoyable and welcoming for the client. So I've included in my handout some links to some good examples of some of these practices and websites, and I've also listed out the ACA guidelines for you guys so that you can check those out in more detail. And we can start thinking about how you might want to design your website and that kind of thing. Hope this was helpful. Thank you guys for listening.